Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's press conference at the Jerusalem Press Club. I'm Talia Dekel-Fleissig. Israel has warned Hamas that it will embark on its extensive operation in the Gazan city of Rafah if all hostages aren't returned by March 10th, also the first day of Ramadan. The border with Lebanon continues to remain a hot zone, and the IDF is still operating against terror elements in the West Bank. 2 Jewish men were also killed in south-central Israel over the weekend by an Israeli Arab citizen. Meanwhile, calls for a Palestinian state increased though the U.S. has insisted against unilateral action or recognition. With us to provide some insight on the situation is Major General retired Yaakov Amidror, former National Security Advisor and former head of the Research Department in the IDF's Military Intelligence Directorate, today a distinguished fellow at the Jewish Institute for National Security of America and at the Jerusalem Institute for Security and Strategy. General Amidror, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me, and it's a good opportunity. I speak a little bit the situation from my perspective, and then I'll open it to questions. I think the questions are as important as my initial briefing. The situation in Gaza is going to be, if I can say, we are coming towards the end of the beginning, meaning that we have to complete the mission in Khan Yunis. It will take few days, maybe a week or so, and then Israel will move into the Rafah area. In the meantime, we have to be sure that part of the population which is concentrating in Rafah will move slowly but surely to designated areas, which will be kind of a safe haven for this population, that many of them are concentrating now in Rafah because they had the hope that they will be allowed to cross the border into Egypt, and because the Egyptians do not want any Palestinian in Egypt. That was by the way, my assessment from the beginning, that they will not allow any Palestinian to enter to Egypt. From the Egyptian point of view, Hamas is a military wing or arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the last wish that they have is to bring more supporters of Muslim Brotherhood into Egypt, which is the main opposition to the regime. And they don't want terrorists in Egypt as well. So my assessment was from the beginning that they will not allow any Palestinian to cross the border, unlike they can be sure that he is not staying there or moving to Qatar or other places. So we have to take care for these people, and to move them to other area. The IDF cannot fight in an area with 1 million people, in a place in which from the beginning was usually it's 200,000 probably. And that will take time. And towards the end of February, the beginning of March, we will finish in Khan Yunis, and we will move forces into Rafah. Rafah will be in Rafah, there are 4 battalions of Hamas. All of them will be dismantled by the IDF. It will take the whole March probably, and maybe to the end of April. This is the time that we will finish the stage 1 in the ground forces maneuvering in Gaza. We will move to the second phase, as we did in the north. It's specific raids of battalions or brigades into specific areas based on intelligence that we will have. A lot of the intelligence is coming from the papers which have been confiscated and other data means that have been confiscated by us in headquarters of Hamas, and interrogation of Hamas terrorists. Many of them are now, instead of fighting and being killed, they are surrendering. So we have a lot of information in our hands, and we will have to build, based on this information, the next stage of raids, specific raids into place to which we want to arrive, to destroy, to kill if there is any resistance in any of these places. It will be a group of Hamas that will try to defend the area, they will be killed, and we will destroy whatever we will find on the ground and under the ground. And under the ground, it's very interesting. We learned a lot through the operation. We have now capabilities that we didn't have in the beginning of the operation. There are a few special forces units that are now specialized in the fighting under in the tunnels, and we have now technology and capabilities and units which can do the job, and slowly we will arrive to all the important part under the ground as we are doing on the ground. It will take probably a year. So if I have to assess kind of a very not correct, but my version of the schedule, I would say that till the 1st of May, we will finish to gain control all over Gaza Strip on the ground and under the ground, and another 6 months to a year to clean the Gaza Strip totally. And then it will be the day after in which someone will have to take responsibility for Gaza. Who will do it? I don't know. I think it's too early to make the decision. If you make the decision today, we will have a third partner that will be involved and will give us advices and demands. Why? Because if he is the one that we want him to take responsibility after the war, so he should be involved in the decision during the war. I think it's too early to make this decision. The IDF has enough freedom to act as it is needed. It doesn't need any decision about the day after, and the decision about the day after will wait to see what will be the results of the operation itself. Why it is so important to wait? Because, for example, there are voices in Israel saying the next regime in Gaza should be taken by the people of Gaza themselves, based on the families, the clans, the people living in Gaza. For that, you have to make sure that Hamas does not exist. Because if Hamas exists in Gaza, no one in Gaza will be ready to take any responsibility because he will be assassinated the day after. So this is an example why we should not make any decision now, but we have to wait to see what will be the results of the war, and only then to make the decision. Now it's a time for learning all the alternatives. I found 5, probably other people have more alternatives, but it doesn't matter. The decision should not be taken now. For that, we have to wait. One of the options that people are speaking about is Palestinian independent state. With all due respect to all those who are speaking about it, I don't believe that in Israel today you will find even 10% of the Israelis that will be ready to take the risk of living nearby a Palestinian state. I met people from the European Union who spoke about that, and I said, can you guarantee us that the first elections in the independent state will not be, that Hamas will not win the elections, and we will find ourselves with independent state, with a legitimate regime of Hamas based on open elections, and that will put Israel in a very grave situation, because Hamas in Kalkilia means that they can hit my house with a cornet in Ra'anana. I don't know about many Israelis who will be ready to live around what we will call Otef Kalkilia. I mean, the other side of the border, near Jerusalem, near Kfar Saba, near Petah Tikva, will be controlled by Hamas. So after the experience of 7th of October, to speak about independent Palestinian state, it's out of the the scope of probably 85% of the Jews in Israel. And I don't know about many Arabs Israelis who will be happy to live nearby a Palestinian Hamas-controlled state. So I think that it's out of context, at least from the Israeli point of view, and the chance to convince Israelis to agree to such an offer is almost zero. So people around the world can speak about it. In Israel, no one will agree. It's not just this government, it's probably the next government, whoever will be elected in Israel after the next elections that I don't know when will take part. About the North, I think that the most problematic or challenging decision that Israel is facing is about the North. It's about what to do with Hezbollah, assuming that the French and the Americans will not achieve a retreat of Hezbollah special forces into the North. If they achieve it, fantastic. If not, this is the main challenging question the government of Israel is facing. Why? Because there are almost 100,000 Israelis who are refugees in Israel, evacuated from all the settlements in the north, Kiryat Shmona, Shlomi. I mean, too many Israelis are living out of their houses, and that cannot continue. And if there is no any agreement which will bring security to the north, I don't see any other option but to wage a war against Hezbollah. When and how, it's a question for the cabinet, but there are at least 5 elements that should be taken into account in this decision. The most important one is, okay, what we do with the population of the north. What are the options? The second one, do we have enough munition to wage a new war? The third one is the economy. After a year of war, can the economy take another burden and to have another war longer than the first one? Much more problematic from the home front point of view and infrastructure in Israel. It's not Hamas, it's 10 times stronger than Hamas. The next consideration should be a legitimacy. Inside Israel, outside Israel, the legitimacy in Israel is very high. Will it be after the first months of the war? I'm not sure about it. This is something that should be considered by the decision makers, and of course the international legitimacy, mainly the United States of America. I don't know what will be the situation after if the American do not achieve the diplomatic need, what they try to get now in Lebanon. What will be the approach of the Americans to a war against Hezbollah, which is the main enemy of Israel? And these are the elements that should be considered in a decision. It is not going to be an easy one. And maybe we will be in a corner, and because the almost 100,000 Israelis which are living as refugees now, we will not have any other choice but to go to initiate the war against Hezbollah. We don't want it. The decision here in the first week of the war was not to initiate the war against Hezbollah. That was maybe the most important decision of the Prime Minister during the war. But now, what will happen with this almost 100,000 Israelis? So this is the situation in the north. Both sides are keeping the rules, and it's kind of game in 2 sides of the fence. We try to go with the rules, and the Hezbollah is the same, because both sides do not want the war. But as I said, maybe we will not have any other choice. Of course, the war might come through too big success of one of the 2 sides, which will force the other side to retaliate, and then the kind of slippery slope. But I think that at the end, both sides are strong enough not to make such mistakes. And the decision will be at the end, okay, what we do is the 100,000 Israelis. We succeeded to kill up till now more than 200 tourists of Hezbollah. It's a huge number for Hezbollah. I don't know if in its history in 3 months he lost 200 people. Maybe in the peak of the war in Syria, I'm not sure. It's a big number for such an organization. Many of them from very important units, the anti-tank missiles units and so on. So militarily we are in a good shape, but I don't think that relating to the population in the north we can continue for a long time. This is the situation in both sides. The area that we are now very sensitive to is the West Bank, because it's the Ramadan is coming, and we have a tradition of violations during the Ramadan. I hope that we will be smart enough not to pour oil into the fire, but no question that Ramadan, which is the end of the first week of March, if I'm not mistaken, will be a very sensitive time based on the experience in the past. This is the situation, as you know, and the two-state solution will be kind of a cloud over the relations between us and the Americans. I think that the more the Americans will understand how strong is the opposition in Israel all over Israel. It's not just the right-wing parties. They will understand that there is it cannot be done. It's out of the cards of the 80% of the Israelis. And now, if you have any question, by the way, I made some calculation to learn about the ratio of the casualties in Gaza versus the ratio of casualties in Mosul, because this is the urban area which was conquered by the Americans. And just to give you some numbers, and you can make the calculation by yourself. In Mosul, there were, at the beginning of the war, after 500,000 people left the city, 750,000 people, and 1,500 terrorists. At the end of the operation, after 9 months, again, 1,500 terrorists. 9 months took the Americans and the Iraqis to gain control in Mosul. There were 10,000 casualties, civilians, out of 750,000 people and 1,500 terrorists. Let's assume that the number of the population in Gaza, it's 2 million. Out of them, probably between 35 to 40,000 are terrorists, members of Hamas and other organizations. The number of casualties up till now is, according to what was published by Hamas, which, as you know, I was exaggerating from time to time. But let's assume that this is the number. Almost 30,000 people. Out of them, according to the IDF report, 12,000 are terrorists. It means that out of 2 million people, 18,000 are civilians. The ratio between civilians and terrorists is 1.5 to 1. So 18 versus 12. The ratio between the number of casualties within the civilian population, you can make the calculation by yourself. 10,000 versus 18 in Gaza, when the population of Gaza is 2 million and the population of Mosul was 750,000. So whoever wants to make any calculation about the ratio of casualties in Gaza versus Mosul, if you take the number of terrorists, the number of civilians, the number of casualties within the civilians, whatsoever, the IDF is doing fantastic work to minimize the number of casualties in Gaza. Fantastic, not good, fantastic. And if someone, an historian, will come here one day and compare all the modern battles in populated areas with the casualties that in Gaza, no question that the IDF will get out of this test with the strong flags and very good position morally. And I'm not going to speak about it publicly, but for you to know that we feel that we are doing whatever is needed to minimize the number of casualties in Gaza of the civilians, and Hamas is doing everything to maximize the number, because this is the way that they can appeal to the international community and say, hey guys, the Israelis are making genocide. And now I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, General Amidror, for that. And of course, we're probably going to see these statistics being spoken more and more about as Israel continues in its defense at The Hague and so forth. We've covered a lot of fronts. We do have questions on most of them. And I think that maybe we'll start with the one closest geographic to us. The Public Security Ministry yesterday spoke about limitations to visits by Israeli Arabs to the Temple Mount. And of course, immediately we heard pushback from security officials saying that this could lead up to further flare-up within Israel by the Israeli Arab sector, which up until now has been relatively quiet over the last couple of months. And of course, coming from the West Bank.
Not relative, it was quiet.
Right, quiet. Do you agree with this assessment that this policy could change the scene?
I am not familiar with the details of the intelligence, so I have to be very cautious. In principle, I think that we should not restrict Muslims to go to the Temple Mountain in Ramadan. This is the principle that should lead us. Because I'm not familiar with intelligence about the last few days, I don't want to say anything about the decision itself. The less that we will put restrictions on Muslims to go to the Temple Mountain, the better. And you are right, the Arab Israelis, and by the way, in most cases, the Arabs in the West Bank, didn't take part demonstrating and so on and so forth during the war. And I think that if it is possible from the intelligence point of view, we should not restrict the ability of Muslims to go to the Temple Mountains.
Okay, very clear. One journalist is bringing us back to Gaza.
And you can quote me if you want.
I'm sure that's what will happen. Bringing you back to the very beginning of your opening remarks regarding Egypt, one journalist is asking about the possibility that the IDF will regain control of the Philadelphia corridor and how that might influence the relationship with Egypt. Could it put our peace treaty with Egypt possibly in jeopardy, in your opinion?
I don't think that this is the case. What the Egyptians are worried about is that the Palestinians will be pushed by the operation into the Sinai Peninsula. If we will be active only on the Palestinian side of the line, it's not against any interest of Egypt. If we succeed to prevent any Palestinian from moving into the border and forcing the Egyptian to kill Palestinians to prevent such a such a move. If we will be smart enough in doing it, separating the Palestinians from the border, and we will be active on the Palestinian side, don't see the Egyptians see any problem with that. They will not like it, but I think that they can accept it if their interest will be secure.
And we heard yesterday that the government plans to send Israelis back to their homes in Sderot and in the Western Negev as early as March 1st, which is really, a week and a half from now. Is that something that's feasible given the fact that there still were rockets, obviously not as much as at the beginning, but here and there still are rockets being fired towards these areas, despite the fact that the IDF is deep within the Gaza Strip? Is this something that you're confident that is feasible to have people returning to their homes already?
Yeah, I think to those places which that we didn't have been destroyed by the raiders of the 7th of October, people can go back. The number of rockets that's still in the hands of Hamas is very minimal, and we are eroding it all the time. What more important than that is the fact that we probably succeeded to destroy most of the places in which they produce the rockets, so they cannot refill the rockets that they are launching. And we are killing most of those who are launching the rockets and destroy many places in which they store the rockets. So the number will be eroded slowly. Till Friday, the number was reduced less than 5% of what was in the hands of Hamas, probably. So I think that in the situation now in Gaza allows the government to call the people which are living around Gaza to go back home. And as you know, there is a special organization, agency, which was established for that purpose. They have a budget of, if I'm not mistaken, 17 billion shekel to rebuild the whole area. And the plan is to double the number of Israelis living
there. So we'll see if the plan becomes reality. Moving back.
It is. People are working on that, and as far as I was briefed yesterday, they are doing a very good job.
Right, but families with children, these are people
that will take time.
Longer to. Sure. So moving back to the northern border, there are a few questions coming out on that issue. One journalist is naming a Calculist article that talked about what are the possible consequences of a full-blown war with Hezbollah, including thousands of Israelis dead, Iron Dome only being able to protect the most important facilities, weeks without water and energy. I'm not entirely sure where this intelligence is coming from, but it's been a report put together by many experts in the field. Do you think that the Israeli home front, which you noted, is one of the 5 factors, the legitimacy of the war, perhaps the stamina of the public to hold out in a war, even if it's not civilians dead, but obviously many soldiers continuing to be killed in a ground incursion? Are these factors that the public is aware of? Is the public being prepared for these kinds of things, in your opinion?
No question that the war against Lebanon will be a different war, and the home front will be under totally different situation. It's not just the number. They have some accurate, few hundred accurate missiles, which probably will be used against sensitive facilities. It is not going to be an easy war. If I have to calculate 10 times more problematic than the war in Gaza. But first, when you read the newspaper in Israel, ask yourself what is the motive and what they say about the war in Gaza before the war in Gaza. And if you compare what they said about the war in Gaza, you can know how accurate they are in their assessment. Some of them are against winning the war from the beginning of the war. So be very careful when you take information from Israeli newspapers. There are some people in those newspapers that, unlike the Israeli population, they're against winning the war. They don't want that the war will be won by this government.
Right, but
So
there are other things beyond the article. We heard about embassies being told to
be
prepare
very
generators,
careful. Be very careful when you take information from Israeli media. First, second, but it will be, as I said, it will be a different, much more problematic war to the home front. About the details, I'm not familiar with all the details which were in Kalkali, so I don't want to say anything about that. But, and then the but is very important. Israel will come to this war in a different situation, in which the IDF is in its best, more prepared to this war than to the war in Gaza. For years, all the focus of the IDF was in Lebanon, not in Gaza. So all the training system was to prepare the IDF for Lebanon, not for Gaza. I don't know how and how it's happened, but the information that we have about Lebanon is much better, and you can see it from the achievements in the north. Some hints from the ability to eliminate Aruri in Beirut and so on and so forth. And what important more than the intelligence is the targeting system. The targets list in Lebanon is, I don't know, 50 or 100 times longer than the list that we had in Gaza. It is true that Hezbollah is probably stronger than Hamas. It has 10 times more rockets and missiles and a huge number of anti-tank missiles and so on and so forth. But I think that the Air Force can work 3 months in Lebanon and not to finish the list. I mean, we are coming much better prepared to this war in Lebanon than we had been prepared for the war in Gaza. It's a question that we will have to investigate after the war. Why? But this is the fact on the ground. And the IDF, after the experience which was gained in Gaza, is much better prepared in every tactical level that you can imagine. So yes, we cannot surprise Hezbollah, and Hezbollah cannot surprise us in the situation of today. But we are coming to this war with much better knowledge, much better prepared, and with the ability to say to ourselves, we did everything to prevent this war, and here we have to fight not because we want, but because they force us to work. And for the legitimacy inside Israel, these are very important factors which will allow the government to make the decisions. Is it the best time to begin the war? I don't know, probably not, but if we will be forced to do it, we will do it, and probably we cannot eliminate Hezbollah, but Hezbollah will go years back in his capabilities. How many years depends on our success in the war itself.
Is there a red line for when this decision actually happens? I mean, we've seen at least 5 Israelis dead over the last 2 weeks, 4 civilians and 1 soldier killed.
I don't think that there is a red line. There is a prerequisite, is to finish the war in Gaza, and then to make the decision, or towards the end of the war in Gaza, to make the decision about the next stage. The IDF is beginning the preparations. At least one huge amount of units had been taken out to go to train themselves in area which is equivalent to the area of Lebanon, to forget some of the lessons of Gaza, which do not apply to the need in Lebanon, and more units are doing it now, and we will come to that stage with very good preparations. All the lessons which had been learned in Gaza will taking into account. Those that can apply to Lebanon will be integrated into the system. Those who cannot should be forgotten, and the training is exactly for that, to emphasize what is needed specifically for Lebanon and does not apply to Gaza. And I believe that till the end of April or May, 80% of the IDF units will be after full training, making their readiness to war in Lebanon much higher than before. And of course, when we will finish the stage 1 in Gaza, the whole Air Force can be deployed towards the north. It will not be needed anymore in most of the time in Gaza. Maybe some RPVs will be needed, but all the heavy planes will not be needed in Gaza, and everything and everyone can be concentrated in Lebanon. And this is part of our strengths in relating to Lebanon based on the targeting list that we have. So this is about Lebanon. I think that if you ask decision makers, they say it's not what we prefer, but we might have to do it, and we are making all the preparations to be ready.
I do want to leave 1 or 2 minutes to address the greater Iranian issue, but one journalist is just asking a follow-up question on the north, whether Israel has the intel on preliminary strikes that Hezbollah might be planning with regards to our installations in Israel. We already saw that they were able to target one of our military bases, or at least attempted to target one of our military bases. Do we know what the other targets may be, and is Israel preparing for those long-range attacks?
I hope.
Okay, that's very clear. So just before we finish up, a few questions regarding Iran. Are you confident that the current policies that Israel's allies, the US, UK, are taking right now against its proxies in Iraq, Syria, and otherwise are sufficient, or do you think that it needs to take more extensive action, perhaps in the Red Sea or otherwise?
I learned to know during my career that both the United Kingdom and the United States of America are a sovereign state. They are making their own decisions, and I'm not going to give any advice to those very prominent countries. I appreciate very much the decision makers in both countries. Some of them I know, and they are very good, and they don't need my advice.
Okay, then just one final question regarding the Abraham Accords. Do you see, after this whole situation, anything? Which way do you think it's going? Where do the Saudis fit in?
I think this is a very important question. I'll answer it with one remark, which we are using in the startup world. It's success-oriented. Let's assume that the war will be finished in Gaza with what we hope to achieve, destruction of the military capabilities of Hamas, and Hamas as an organization will not exist in Gaza. People can feel that they belong to the organization, but the organization itself is not active in Gaza, and whenever we will identify activity of Hamas, we will kill the people and destroy the place. And this is what we intend to do, by the way. This is the policy afterwards, that Hamas will be like Area A in the West Bank. We are not there, but if we have an intelligence, we are coming and not let the other side to build the capability. Let's assume that this is the situation, success-oriented. I think that the situation of Israel will be much, much better than before the 7th of October. We faced 3 areas, or 3.5 areas of threats. It was Lebanon, Gaza, the West Bank, and the half is the Yemen. Very important part of this threat will disappear. Israel will have to face problems in Gaza, but Gaza will not be a threat anymore. Not every 3 years I have to run to a shelter because someone in Gaza decided he wants to launch rockets and missiles into Israel. And we will have 2 very important achievements. One, we will show everyone that there are red lines, and if enemies of Israel are crossing these red lines, they will not exist. We will destroy them, we will eliminate them, as we are doing now to Hamas. And the second one, which is not less important, is we can concentrate all our efforts in other areas, mainly in Lebanon, and to be much better prepared, and not to say all the time, we cannot do it in Lebanon because we have to take part of our units and forces and capabilities and to be sure that nothing is happening in Gaza and so on and so forth. No. From that day on, or from this year on, probably the middle of 25, we can concentrate all our efforts, all our energy against one enemy. It's Hezbollah in the north, assuming that we don't have a war in between, that the war will be postponed because the Americans will achieve it, or because I don't know what. We decide not to go to war. So Israel strategically will be in a much better position. One, eliminating the threat in the south, and B, can focus on the other threats in much better position. And if you add to that the success of the new institution that we built to rebuild the south, and we can show to ourselves, first of all, that yes, we can rebuild the whole area and broaden it, and to make it richer and bigger and stronger. That will be internally very important after the 7th of October, in which we lost some of our confidence. And our ability to concentrate in the north and Iran will be very important for the future abilities of Israel. So I think success-oriented, after the war, doesn't matter what will be the solution for Gaza. From the Israeli point of view, it's less important. Israel will be in a much better position to deal with the threats of the future and to show to ourselves, yes, we can flourish in spite of the 7th of October. By the way, I believe that the economy will be stronger because of these factors.
And this, of course, sends a message to our allies and to potential allies about what we're able to achieve.
And that is very much connected to the Abraham Accord idea. And we will be in a position to gain more members into the Accord because it will be shown that Israel is strong, Israel is flourishing. The system, at the end of the day, came out of the crisis very strong, and we succeeded to do it. In a way, for my generation, it's like the results of the Yom Kippur War. What happened in the Yom Kippur War? At the beginning, nothing worked. I remember the first week I was in the Sinai, everything collapsed. Everything. I was there in the first counter-offensive that didn't work. First time in the history of Israel, nothing worked. The only thing that worked, by the way, was the recruitment of the reserve system. But at the war at the end, I was part of the forces which conquered the city of Suez. We could go to Cairo if we had been ordered by the government. It was clear at the end of the war that we won. If that will be the situation in Gaza, it will be clear that we won, and there is one picture or one decision. If Gaza is like Area A, we won the war. elimination of Hamas will be very clear in this situation. By the way, today, I spoke yesterday with a friend who is many years was under my command, and he told me, General, I was in Gaza. We took 2 cars and we crossed Gaza from one side to the sea. Not battalions, 2 cars. And we did it in, say, less than an hour. We were left the crossing, and less than an hour we were near on the seashore of the Mediterranean. So if that will be the situation, it will be a clear signal to the other countries in the war, in the region. Israel had an accident in the 7th of October, but the system works.
I think that's a very good place to end our conversation. Thank you so much, Major General in Reserves Yaakov Amidror, former National Security Advisor, and a member today of both JINSA and JISS. Thank you so much for your time.
But I don't want that one mistake, if I made a mistake, I don't want to minimize the consequences of a war against Lebanon. It will be a devastating war for us and for Lebanon, of course, but a devastating one. Should be prevented if it's possible.
Right. No, the aftermath is absolutely clear for everybody, and we appreciate your insight on that as well. Thank you also to everybody who joined us, and also to my colleagues at JPC, Jonathan Beck, who joins us now, as well as Matthias Sakal for facilitating this event today. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you very much.